Good day, everyone. I'm adding some post commentary to a platinum I did fairly recently. This is the perfect platinum I did against the cats, in which I didn't use any resources at all. I I chose the cats because it's very easy to stay alive against them, and I chose the Turian soldier for two reasons. Firstly, he's one of my favorite characters, and secondly, soldier classes have a passive skill, hold the line, which gives them max damage resistance at low health, which saves me 3 times in particular, twice on wave 4 and once on wave 7. Now I chose to use explosive purge on my fortify, which is exceptionally useful, even though a lot of people don't use it, which is perfectly fine because you'd think that you shouldn't turn off fortify, but there are times that you kind of need to, just to stun the enemies, because that is one of the shortcomings of the Turian soldier. He has no way to stun uh, any enemy at all. Now, while I was playing this, I decided to take the gameplay very slowly and very carefully, because I didn't want to rush anything and potentially mess up this run. So on round 2 I got devices, which can get a bit feisty on any single faction, but right here the enemies spawned right next to the device, and I don't know how or why that happened, and I had to run to the other side of the map. Now, something to note: when you do that, you should run to the other side of the map and wait until there's 20 seconds left, and when you run back at 20 seconds, you'll have just enough time to get there and actually do the objective, and you just saw me do it. So just remember that. Run to the opposite side of the map, wait until 20 seconds, and then run back, and you'll have just enough time to do it. So while I was doing it, as I said earlier, I think my main strategy was to just take it really slowly and play carefully. So the main thing I tried to do was to stay far away from the enemies, especially the bosses, and to pick off the weaker enemies one by one until I whittle them down so they won't spawn anymore. And even when they don't spawn anymore, they stop spawning, I still kind of like just work on the smaller enemies first. Like even now, I finished the objectives so they won't spawn anymore. I still kind of stay far away from them, and I kind of only work on the small enemies first before I shoot at the ascendants. In a situation like this, if you can get an ascendant by themselves, you can go for them, because bosses by themselves are very easy to kill. The reason I wanted to stay away from the bosses in particular is because almost all of the bosses on the cats can insta-kill you. The Ascendants, the Fiends, the odd Hydra that spawns in, they can just insta-kill you. The only boss that isn't necessarily a threat is the Behemoth, but you only have to kill 2 of them, if I understand correctly, round 5 and round 6. So they're not really a threat at all.
Enemies headed your way. Move out.
So on wave 3, one Ascendant spawns in, and I turned around right there to find out where she is, because she, for one reason or the other, the Ascendant is the only boss or enemy that can jump up behind you. All of the other enemies can jump up in front of you or jump down from the roof. Other enemies like the observers can fly around behind you, but if you know what you're doing, they're very easy to handle. Right here I was in a rather good position where all of the enemies were in front of me, the Ascendant was in front of me as well, but a Destined threw one of its grenades at me and kind of forced me to leave from this position. The cats aren't necessarily the hardest faction, but they are very annoying to deal with.
Get to cover.
So for this entire round 3, I don't really go for the Ascendant, because that wasn't my plan originally. It was just to work on the small enemies, stay away from the bosses, and just try to take the game very easily and carefully. Right here, I took a lot of unnecessary damage simply because I wasn't expecting that Anointed to be there. I should have stunned him with my 45, but I suppose I was a bit too scared and I ran away. Right there, I took down the shield of the Ascendant just so that it won't come any closer or attack me. So I just continued working on the smaller enemies first.
Watch out. Shield down.
So right here I got the Ascendant by herself, but for some reason this Anointed just walks in front of me. It's something that the Anointeds do, and I don't particularly understand why they just walk up to you.
Three more to go. Shields
Right
down.
here, I remember being rather upset that the Ascendant hit me with her orb. I don't particularly like that her attacks can go through walls. And right here, something to note about the Ascendant is that if she is at the edge of the roof, her orbs can hit you, so you have to dodge them, you have to move. But if she is further back, for example, close to that pole right there, you don't have to move at all, she's too far away.
Enemies clear. Stay alert.
But if she's at the edge, you have to move. And right here, when I saw the boss wave, I almost quit
Key
the
enemy
game.
personnel were tracked to that
And that's why I
location.
didn't
Take
move
them
for
out.
a while.
Can do.
Because boss waves against the cats can be rather obnoxious and annoying. Now, if you're using all of your resources, it's fairly easy. And you can just get it over with. And right here, the game tries to cheat me. There's an anointed right on the roof for some reason. There's no reason for that anointed to be on the roof. And the Turian soldiers' passives save my life. Specifically, Hold the Line, which gives you max damage resistance at low health. So it saved my life.
Get to cover. Shields down.
This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult. Boss waves are so difficult because the bosses often get like lost in the sauce, so they get caught up with the other enemies, and it's very difficult to take them out. And on a regular game, I would just tank the damage and use a health pack or revive and spam my RPGs. But since I can't do that, I had to run away. And right here I was considering quitting the game because I only have 30 seconds left to kill the boss, but I noticed that it separated itself from all of the enemies. So that one little thing saved the run.
Target down. Good work.
And right there, another anointed just walks up to me for no particular reason. And Fortify saved my life because I got to stun the anointed so it can shoot back, allowing me to make my escape. And I remember running around the map for a bit, and right here the Ascendant tries to cheat me by teleporting right next to me and instantly trying to kill me. The game tries to cheat me a couple times in this game. But yeah, as I was saying, I ran around the map for a bit because I couldn't believe that I beat a boss wave without using any resources or without dying and only using the pole and supercharge.
Shields are out.
So I finish out this wave just like every other wave. I focus on the weaker enemies first before I move on to the bosses. Especially the Fiend. The Fiend, if you don't have something like Snap Freeze, the Fiend takes too long to kill. So I just stuck to my original plan, which was just taking it very slowly. Just taking down the enemies one by one and taking my time. Now, this is a prime example of why I wanted to stay away from the enemies. I have 2 Ascendants and a Fiend on the field with me, but they can't particularly hurt me if I keep my distance away from them. So that was my general idea and general strategy for completing this against the cats. So yeah, the Fiend just never ever touched me. Right here I noticed a little mistake that I made, which was getting too close to the Ascendants. So I immediately ran away when I caught myself messing up. If you've ever played against the Ket, you know that the 2 Ascendants together are a nightmare because they jump all over the place and sometimes they jump in front of each other or behind each other, making it very difficult to shoot them. And right here I couldn't shoot the orb because of the red outline of the character, making the orb almost invisible to the background of the Ascendant, so I couldn't really tell where it was. And the start to this round 5 was rather perfect for me and my strategy. So the Hydra came in rather quickly and I was able to shoot off its eye so it couldn't target me from a distance, allowing me to just permanently be safe from it because it couldn't attack me from a distance, even though it tried to. So whenever you take off the Hydra's eye, it moves a bit faster, maybe, and it shoots you with its arm cannon a lot. But since my strategy was to just permanently stay away from the bosses, it never hit me. Now, a bit of trivia on the cat. On wave 5, there are 3 potential Hydras and 3 potential Behemoths. So if you kill all 3 Behemoths, no more will spawn. And if you kill all 3 Hydras, no more Hydras will spawn. So that is one strategy that you could potentially use. I just didn't want to risk the Hydras targeting me from across the map, so I kept him alive. And the Behemoth can't particularly hurt you, so I decided to keep him alive as well, rather than having to go through the process of killing all 3. Something to note about this strategy is that it might not be the most time efficient way, but it is the safest way of doing a perfect platinum. So right there, Fortify saved my life by allowing me to stun that anointed so it can shoot me. And that's the main point of Fortify, or Explosive Purge on Fortify, just giving you a resource to use, giving you a skill that stuns any enemy close to you so they don't shoot you. So you can either run away from them or shoot them. Just having the ability to stun an enemy on the Turian soldier is invaluable, even if it's a very close range stun. So right there, I killed that anointed and it spawned right there at the bottom, and I killed it again, and that same anointed spawned on the LC, allowing me to kill it for a third time. So I got almost 1,000 points for basically nothing. Now, when you're on the roof on your Sandstorm playthroughs, always be sure to look on both sides because the enemies will walk up to you, especially the anointed. They'll walk up right next to you and stand next to you to shoot you. So that is something that you have to be aware of when you're playing against the cats. So yeah, whole entire round the Hydra never attacked me once. I don't think it ever hurt me. So if you ever have any trouble with the Hydra on wave 5 against cats, just know that you don't have to kill all of the 3 Hydras. You can just knock out the eye and take it slowly. Right here I took a chance to kill the behemoth because I was unsure if the enemies had stopped spawning, and I knew that they had stopped spawning because when the behemoth spawns in, they make like a roaring sound. And right here I ran away because the Hydra scared me. But anyway, back to the behemoth. Whenever a new behemoth spawns in, they make a roaring sound. So if you happen to kill one and you don't hear that sound, that means the enemies have stopped spawning, or you've killed all 3. Right here I kept that Saboteur alive because usually I start every single round at the top of the roof. This is my starting position, the roof, and I wanted to be sure that I can get here in time. And when I saw that it was retrieval, I was just excited. I was elated because I couldn't believe it. I got the best objective, the safest objective to get retrievals. Other than this little moment right here, I only get hit once, which is when I jump down right here. And that's it. I never really found myself in danger for the entire objective. And for this entire objective, my shields never broke because I just took the safest route that you can take, which is basically sticking to the extreme sides of the map so they can't hit you at all. For example, I jump down right here, all the way down, and that dirt wall kind of protects you from the enemies so they can't touch you. And then I usually run into the building, and the overwhelming majority of the cat enemies can't hit you through walls, only the ascendants can. If I if I remember correctly, in Mass Effect 3, there was an equipment that could allow you to see through walls. It was the Geth scanner or something like that. I wish it had that in Mass Effect Andromeda, because the Turian agent has that, so the recon visor. I would use that in my platinum runs to just see where all the enemies are, to make sure that I'm taking the safest route to do my objectives. I don't know why they took that out of the game. It had it in Mass Effect 3, right? The Geth have that skill and they made it into an equipment for Mass Effect 3. And the Turian agent has that skill, the recon visor. So they could have made that into a skill, and that would be particularly useful just as a safety measure, just to know where all of the enemies are at any given time, or at the very least where the enemies who are close to you are, even through walls. I don't know if other people would use that, but I would. So why don't you leave me a comment and let me know if you would use the recon visor equipment if it had it, which would allow you to see through walls. Not to sound a bit too arrogant, but I'd like to think that Garrus himself would be proud of this gameplay, doing a perfect platinum. I think Garrus would be proud. So yeah, that's an example of, you know, you getting the bosses by themselves and then them being very easy to deal with.
Only one more. Shields are out. Nice job, Apex. Keep it going. Good kill.
So another question that I have for you is the idea of a perfect platinum. If someone were to accidentally die on wave 7, will that still be a perfect platinum? If they beat rounds 1 to 6 without using any resources, no health packs, no revives, nothing. And then on wheel 7, extraction, they just accidentally mess up. Is that still a perfect platinum? I'd like to hear your opinion in the comments. For me personally, I would like to think that it would be, since we really did beat the platinum rounds 1 to 6. And everybody who plays Mass Effect Andromeda knows that
Shield down.
shit happens. For example, a Hydra shot me out of nowhere and it almost killed me. That is another example of the Turian soldier's passive hold the line, which saved me.
Watch out. Lost my shield. Hydra on the field.
I always find myself in this room for the last 20 seconds.
Watch out. Lost my
Oof.
shield. All targets
I
down,
could have
everyone standing.
easily
Drinks are
died
on me.
right there if an enemy had attacked me. Like if the Ascendant had thrown another orb, it would have killed me. So that's why I asked that question. If if someone accidentally dies on wave 7, is that still a perfect platinum? Well, anyway, thank you for listening to my commentary over this platinum, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.